Yes, hello folks and welcome along. It is the Left Wing Back Show live and we have a ton of stuff to get through this evening. It's actually been a massive weekend, not just in hurling, but ladies football as well, and so many great things happening. So just to give you a flavour of what's coming up over the next hour or so, which is, of course, in association with Cork and Precast. Thanks, and we do thank them for their kind sponsorship again. Peter Fortin is going to be joining us. He captained St Fechins to the Louth Senior Hurling Championship title yesterday. We're going to be chatting with Clíodhna Ní Shé, following her massive achievement, of course, in racking up 9.19 to claim the ZuCar Golden Boot Award in ladies football, the highest score across all three tiers, which is just incredible stuff. We have said earlier, and we'll stick to this policy for now, depending on celebrations and internet coverage and different things, we might have Mark Brennan on board. I think they might be out in the stick somewhere in some part of Meath, and we wouldn't deprive him of an old tipple or two after his endeavours with the Meath ladies senior footballers. Another incredible achievement, toppling the Doves there yesterday. So well done to Mark. We have our player of the week to announce in hurling, our hurling team of the week, semi-final previews, and we have post-match reaction coming your direction as well from yesterday's games. You will hear from Michael Doyle, Monastery Rangers, and we're going to hear from Gavin Nolan, the Bidenstown Gales manager. We'll hear from Owen Larkin, Ballinkillen boss, and of course Colin Keeling, who's over in Avon once again. So let's bring in our guests. We have our regular Joe Nolan. How's things, Joe?
Oh, good now, Kev. Yeah.
Good to have you on once again. Yeah, not too bad, thanks. And of course, Mr. Peter Fortin. Peter, great to have you on. Thanks for joining us. I think a lot of lads would have expected you to be maybe having a little tipple to yourself at the moment, but you've taken a bit of time to chat to us here on the podcast, and we're very grateful for it. So thanks for coming on. How's things? And well done.
Thanks very much, Kev. Thanks for having me on. I'm leaving tonight to the younger members of the team to carry it on in my absence now. I think I'm getting to that stage. I remember when we won our first one with St Mullins, we were all mad to go out for 2 or 3 days, and I don't think I have that in me anymore now. One night is enough for me.
You're only a chap still, sure. So you trained this lad in minor. That was only about 4 years ago, was it?
You're giving me a few years now.
he nearly passed for one still. Look at him, how fresh-faced he is. He's not getting enough. He's not getting enough hardship wherever he is. Anyway, I tell you, he's getting it too easy.
I'm getting looked after too well up here in Louth. That's the problem.
And maybe that's why he's not being allowed out, Kevin. No, that's the hard question you have to ask.
Possibly. We won't rule it out yet. We'll try not to keep him for the whole night because he might get out for a snaky one on the QT. Even though we do have a lot of people looking and listening, so I mightn't be that much on the QT. Well, Peter, come here. give us a flavour of kind of, you're up in Louth. You're playing for St Fechins, as we said. You won the senior championship. How long are you up there? Why are you up there? And what's it like up there?
Well, I suppose it all starts off with St Mullins, as most stories in my life will always come back to, my youth and playing with St Mullins. And say when I went to Maynooth, I met a lovely lady called Megan, and we've been together for a good few years now. And I suppose we'd always kind of talked about when we got to a certain age that maybe a move would have to happen, and I got the curly finger to come up to Louth instead of coming down to Carlow. So, look, I moved up here I'm 4 years teaching up here now in a school called Clíodhna National School out in Clogherhead. And I suppose when I moved up here originally, I continued to play with St Mullins for 2 years, and look, it was quite difficult. I was leaving school with a lunchbox full of pasta and chicken to get on the M50 to drive down to Carlow and get there for 7:30 onto the field, back out and back up here at 11:30, 12 o'clock into school the next morning, back down on a Friday. And it got to the stage where it was, being taking a good lot out of me, and all the lads in St Mullins will know I have hamstrings made out of cheese strings, so all the driving in the car wasn't doing the best for me either. So look, the year, actually funny enough, the year we got to the Leinster final, I kind of made the decision before the county final that day that win, lose or draw, I was going to make the transition up here and look for the transfer. And luckily enough, there's a fella actually I actually transferred to a football club first. Joel will be shocked to hear now. He would never see me maybe with the big ball in my hand, but I transferred to a club called Dunleer up here. There's a couple of friends from college were playing with them, and they were actually letting me train. The odd night when I couldn't get down to St Mullins, they were letting me train with Dunleer for fitness and stuff like that. So I transferred to them, and then one of the teachers in school, he was in goal for us yesterday with the Fechins, and as soon as he heard I was transferring up, he had the transfer request handed in for me to get one to the Fechins as well. So, oh look, it's been great. I have to say, both clubs have welcomed me in, massively, and I was saying to you there earlier, like leaving St Mullins was probably the hardest decision I've had to make because, I suppose down in St Mullins, hurling is everything. Everyone you meet on the road, it's the first thing to say, how's training going, how's the matches going, and even I suppose even the year I moved, it was COVID, and then I couldn't even get down then to get into a game or anything, or I felt like a real clean break, and I'd say not seeing some of the lads and stuff like that you're used to seeing 3-4 nights a week every week for 7 or 8 months of the year, so. But look, no, it's been great now, it has been, and I'm delighted with it so far anyway.
And no major issues going from club to club up there. There was no one standing in your way or anything like.
No,
I don't mean from St Mullins now, but even within Loudmore, so I'm talking about. Yeah.
With St Mullins, like I got the most well wishes even before the final there the other day. I know you sent out a nice message to me, but the club at home had a thing up on Facebook about it as well, and just like they were very supportive of it. I think everyone kind of knew the situation was getting to where it was a lot, and the lads were nearly saying to me, "Geez, you're mad coming down Tuesday evening." But I'd be a bit like that if I'm committed to a team, I'm committed to the team, regardless if I'm living 3 or 4, 2.5, 3 hours away. Like so, but no. In fairness, there was no bother. Basically, once the football club I play with has no hurling at all, it's a just sole football club. So once there was no hurling involved, it was easy enough to get it sorted.
Right, well, I'm not going to name people, but I know a lad, and I'd say the two of you probably hurled with him, with Carlow Miners. I think he could be a year ahead of you, actually, Peter. He's a year younger than me and a year ahead of you, right? And he's living around the Kildare area, and there's two very well-known clubs, football clubs, I should say now, in Newbridge, right? And he'd registered with one, and the following year, the other crowd ran to him to go play. So he went over and played, but there was some problem with the forms, and he scored about 1-9 or 1-10 against them. And they came over after the match and were like, "What the heck is going on here? Like, this lad's one of ours," kind of thing, But I doubt it's that crazy up there. But you're not on your own, of course, up there, Pete. There is another lad from down our direction, a very famous character, Barry the Bowser Dial, and you're related as well. So you're hunting in packs.
Yeah, I think it's third cousins now. Again, this. Every time we try and tell this story, it changes. I think what relation we actually are, but yeah, on my mum's side, we're related. And I was actually talking to his mum. I actually got down to the St Mullins Bidenstown match there a couple of weeks ago, and I met his mum, and she was saying that we were in the final at that stage, and his club Menina were hoping to get into it, and she was saying she was hoping to be up, but Knockbridge unfortunately bet them in the semi final. So, but yeah, no. I'll be running into Barry now and again.
You want to tell us about literally nearly running into him, or is this podcast material? So you might as well now.
Well, I don't mind this. Me and Barry are fairly open with each other. We don't mind too much. We had a little altercation on the sideline a few weeks ago at a junior league match. As you know yourself, Barry can be quite bold when he wants to be, and he decided one of our fellas, Thomas McCreesh, he's a real fast fella, and he was on this long solo run down the sideline, and Barry decided it'd be a good idea to put his hands out over the sideline like this, out over his hurl to give him a fright. And I was fairly quick to tell Barry to sit back down into the dugout, but we hugged it out after the match anyway. We were grand.
Yeah, well, Peter, I'm going to say one thing, right? Because I feel like I'm relatively well placed to make a call on the standard. I was up there 2 years ago, and we saw a couple of games. Yeah. Menina were playing, I think it was Knockbridge, and Fechins were playing after it. And I have to admit, like, a lot of people would be if they saw it, the standard was pretty decent. Like, some lads in particular, your man Darren Gagan was hitting the freeze for Menina and flawless from him. Darren will be well known, actually. But not just that, like, the overall standard I thought was pretty good, and it looked like a county that was making real progress. You were in with the county yourself this year, so, like, where do you see it, and how much more improvements can be made, and how quickly can that happen, do you think?
Yeah, well, like lads you're after mentioning there, like Darren, like, I put him up at a level where, like, I remember playing the Rangers, and the story was always you can't give Dennis Murphy a free within 100 yards or in scored, like, and Darren is at that standard of free taking where, like, even with Louth this year, like, there was a couple of times where he scored frees that he had no right to score, and kind of helped us, get over the line in games, and well, look, like again, like I had really no experience of it until I came up, and I trained with lads a couple of times, while I was with St Mullins again, just like the odd night if I couldn't make it down, and again, like I thought like the standard was very good, and then going into the county scene, like I suppose I unfortunately it just never worked out for me. I never really got the chance to play adult hurling with Carlo. I always say I was very fortunate to get to play minor and under 21 and be on that panel that beat Dublin that day in Parnell Park. And I have some brilliant memories playing with Carlo, and even that man over there, he was a big part of a lot of our memories growing up and heading off on buses to matches and blitzes and all that kind of crack. But I suppose that was a big transition to me, like, to go and play at a standard, a county standard. It is a different kind of standard to club, no matter what level it's at. But look, there's some real great hurling people up here, and there's lads who really want Louth hurling to keep going and drive on and improve. And like I often reference St Mullins or Carlo myself when people ask me questions about it, and I would say, like I can see what Carlo did, in the last couple of years, and I know some counties mock the whole Carlo Rise and the slogan or whatever, but it was real there for a while where the boys were making serious progress to where they were playing the likes of, like I was at the match against Kilkenny in Dr. Cullen that day, and I know it didn't go their way, but to say that they were like playing the best hurlers in the country, like so I think if the time is invested in it, and the lads are keeping the interest in it, it definitely can continue to improve and continue to move on. I suppose the big problem we have up here is it's a massive football area. Like Louth football is the bee's knees up here for most people, and I suppose it's probably taken, not in my time since I was here, because it's been very positive my whole time here, but it probably has been looked down on inside the county, and probably not got the same treatment that the football has got in aspects of maybe fixtures and things like that. And so look, I can't speak highly enough of it anyway for the 2 years I've been here, and I'd be hoping that to stay involved with Louth now for the next couple of years, and we got promotion this year from 3B to 3A, and try to go up and test ourselves up there, and then you're always striving to stay there for maybe a year, then try maybe push on again and get up to the next division again. So there's some great lads here that Ronan Byrne there that's playing with Knockbridge yesterday, full back. Like there's lads here, OE that's playing there with Manila with Barry's club. Like they've been playing with Louth for over a decade now, and so there's there's lads inside every county that are like it, but hurling's their life and they love it, and they'll do everything they can for Louth hurling. And same in our club, we have lads like Bazo there. He might enjoy a shout out there, but lads that have been hurling for years and years and years, and just keeping it going.
Joe, do you want to jump in and ask Peter a question?
Yeah, yeah, Jeannie Mac, it's great to hear him. It's great to see him.
It's great to see you as well, Joe.
Yeah, I always I know going back to years, but I would have been involved with some squads with Peter, and it's brilliant to see your success, and it's brilliant to see that you're staying with hurling, because I suppose something like you made the big move, like you said there, to move away from home, and some lads kind of that can signal the death knell, but you got stuck in, and but you were like that as a young lad anyway. You could see the passion, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant, like I said. And it's brilliant to see how, like, Louth hurling, I have to hold my hand up. I know a little bit about it. It's a competitive championship up there. I mean, you're looking at the teams there who win the championship, and it's it's next to nothing between any of them on any given day. So that's obviously a great sign for hurling in the county. Am I right in thinking, Peter? Was there a new underage club started up there a couple of years back? I think there was 2 Banner lads involved with it. I don't know whether it's still on the go. Would that be right?
I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure myself now, Joe. To be honest, I wouldn't know much about the underage scene yet. I've only kind of started getting roped in now. I'm helping out one lads with the under 13s up here now, and trying to give him a dig out. He's actually a selector on our panel as well. But
I think it was in. Yeah, I think it was in actually one of the big towns. Because I remember actually sending up broken hurls. They were going to repair. They were looking for hurls and helmets to get the club going up and going. So that's a brilliant sign. Like, I mean, to growing hurling and then growing it the big centres of population in counties like Louth and any county, like obviously like our own as well, is always a brilliant sign, because numbers will drive it forward, which is great to see.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, sorry, Kev, but no, definitely, and success. I think is like we're lucky. Like we got 2 cups with Louth in the last year with the Lowry Mar, and then the Division 3B. Like, and even like I brought the cup into the Division B3 cup into the school. Like, and the interest the kids had in them, they're all like, Clogherhead is a pure football area. There wouldn't be many that would. There'd be a few lads might have a hurl in the garage that to take out on a sunny day, but that'd be the height of it. And they were mad to see the match and to know what was going on, and like you said, like that's where it starts. Like I still remember James Jordan bringing me and Seamus Jordan to our first training down in Mahana, and like that's where you get the love for it. That's when you fall in love with it. Although I think Seamus walloped me on my knee that day, and I went home bawling. But
he didn't lose that. He never lost that trait for a while.
No, he was throwing. I'll never forget. He was throwing grass up and hitting him with the hurl, and I turned around and bang on the knee. Anyway, that was my first experience of hurling, was Seamus Jordan sending me home with a swollen knee. And he sent me home with a lot of them, I'd say, in training in years to come then as well.
Yeah, great stuff. Perfect. Listen, Peter, it's fantastic. I think you touched on a very important thing regards bringing the cup into the school as well. That's all so important in building a bit of a culture, building an interest, and getting people playing the game. Like, so fair play to you. If they head in the right place. I know, look, we won't keep you the whole night. We said about 20 past to let you go, so we're on 20 past now.
You're okay. We're not anyway.
We want to say it very, very well done. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great to see anyone. I don't know, is there many people that have gone outside Carlow and won a senior championship? Like, Mark Mullins maybe, but other than that, there's not too many. Like, so you're in fair company there, and well done on it. And thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah. And there's no truth in the rumor that you left St Mullins because of Gary Bennett. No,
I was actually going to say, I felt when Kevin gave me the text, I was very worried, because I said it's very hard to top a Gary Bennett appearance the week after. I wouldn't have minded maybe a filler episode with someone else on it before I came on. Maybe he's a great character. I love Gary. I love Gary now. He's a top man, and you couldn't come across a sounder fella.
Absolutely.
Mad as a bag of cats, but you couldn't come across.
You need a few of them lads too. 100%.
Yeah.
You have fair few characters down there. Listen, Peter, well done again. Thanks for joining us here on the Left Wing Back Show. All right.
Well done, Peter.
Thanks so much, Kev. Thanks, Joe.
We'll talk to you again.
Man. Take care.
That's Peter Fortune. We're going to bring in Mark Brennan. I think he's with us here. He was there we go. Mark, how's things? What's the story, lad? We just don't have audio.
Great, Kevin. Great.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. We thought we didn't have your audio. There's a slight delay. I think you're in the middle of nowhere, you were saying. But anyway, look, we'll let you talk while you can. And the battery is going to go, as you said. So we want to say well done. Fantastic achievement. Unbelievable contribution. You must be buzzing, man.
No, yeah, we're absolutely flying it up here now today. It's very, very surreal. Probably hasn't really sank in yet. But
something's that they're sinking on you. Or the phone is gone or the battery's gone.
Into a ditch or something. That's
the screen is definitely gone anyway.
After the next pub.
For a sec. I'd say it's the battery. I think he was turning around. The battery was just about to go. So if he can jump back on, we'll get back on. But if not, what a shame and what a pity. I'd say that lad now. Maybe he was out for a good bit of the day and there's no charger to be got. And sure, look, you couldn't hold it again. So Joe, me and you were going to talk about like, that's incredible. Like to come up literally over grade and all of a sudden an All-Ireland Senior Championship against a team who, I don't know, like people talk about the great core team, that Dublin team people are talking about for years and how strong it's been and how good it is, like talking about in the same breath as the men's team, and then me go on and do that, like some achievement and great to have a connection as well with that, like.
Oh, fantastic! But sure, look, Mark's pedigree is there to see. He'd have, I'd say, his fingers in a lot of successful pots over the years, as you probably saw firsthand yourself, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
But as a player, sure. I mean, look, anywhere he goes, he kind of brings a level of excellence to it and a level of, real detail and meticulous detail. I mean, like I said, you've seen it firsthand yourself, but Nate Breed when he was there as a player, with O'Loughlin, with the Camogie team as well, the Carlow Camogie team, any clubs he's involved with, just a level of excellence, which is which is unparalleled. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, a phenomenal achievement from Meath, like to bring that team. I think it was a couple of years ago. Was it 40 points Cork put past them? I think wasn't it Cork beat them in the
Only
championship?
a couple of years ago, I think. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like you said, to make that jump up and to look comfortable and to beat, you know, to beat who to bet along the way as well, if you get me. It wasn't like they got, you know, it's a lucky draw or you get a lucky break or anything. But to beat the very top this year in the championship, to win it out, it probably makes it extra sweet for him and obviously the panel and so on as well.
Definitely.
But I thought it was a good.
Go on, yeah.
Sorry. No, I just thought it was a good point. I think it was Mick Kehoe mentioned on Twitter. And I know we might discuss it further in terms of officials and people involved. But it goes to show the quality of people that we have involved in Gaelic games in the county here. Like, it's excellent. And sometimes, you know, to see what they can do outside of the county probably highlights their excellence further, if you get me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What to say about something about not being a prophet in your own land, or, you know, that sometimes
I think that's what Eamon Malloy got in touch with us on Facebook. A prophet is never valued in his own land.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
it's a.
It just goes to show you. No, I'm just going. I mean, you know, without naming names and going down through coaches, but I just thought it was a very good point. About, you know, that I think Mick put up there, that we have incredible depth of talent in coaches, and I know, you know, we see it. We talked to a few on the program here before. You know, you even said you went down to see a match here yourself, and you've Johnny Nevin and you have James Hickey from a hurling point of view, when we're on the hurling podcast. You know, involved with, you know, managing teams down in Kilkenny, and Johnny has been in Wexford before. Just picking those examples. You know, Christy Keeley has been involved with teams around as well, very successful teams as well. Just to name a couple of lads, you know. So there's a wealth of talent. That's just from a hurling point of view, but there's a wealth of talent there in terms of coaching there in the county. And like I said, it's great to see that Mark is kind of making and has made his name now on a really national stage for his input into Meath success. So fair play to him. You know, he's a top man. Fairness.
And his battery's definitely dead, because I just sent a WhatsApp there and we only got the one take. So we have a comment in as well.
Wipe out.
Mark said, the comment says, Mark left because he knew he wouldn't get a word in with Joe.
Gary feeling.
Bingo.
Yeah.
There you are. Thanks for getting in touch. And the same, look, lads and lasses, anyone that's on the stream, you can just send a comment, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube. I must actually check Twitter to see that the link goes straight out, but we did put the links on it earlier for YouTube and Facebook if it didn't play out directly through Twitter. But yeah, like, unbelievable stuff. And I think it's a very valid point that Mick made. You mightn't name drop people. I'll name drop a few for you. Alan Malone was with Longford this year.
Alan Malone, yeah, he's strength and conditioning as well, yeah.
So I don't know whether it was this year or last year. He won an O'Byrne Cup with Longford. Instant impact. Obviously, he's done very well with us.
Yeah.
Anya Kinsley's down with the extra senior hurlers, I think. We can't really claim him as a Carlow man, although we do give him out rubber every now and then. But Kevin Smith, obviously from Greg Cullen, in around the area, like, you know, in the catchment area that you could maybe get someone involved in. He's down with the Cork senior footballers, and there's a plethora more. Like Mick himself, O'Loughlin Gales. We have a lot of coaches all over the gaff. Now, we have a lot of club managers in our place as well. So, like, from outside counties, you know, we're going to be hearing from a few of them here in a few minutes' time. Like, in actual fact, an interesting statistic: 3 of the 4 interviews that I'm going to play, we have a Wexford man, we have 2 Kilkenny men over us, like, so over our teams, I should say, in the county. So, just seems to be the nature of it. But the overall point, I suppose, to bring it back, Joe, is maybe if you look inside a little bit more, we might haven't to look too far in future to maybe find a go-to person, like.
Yeah, that's a fact. Like I said, there's lots of expertise, like you mentioned there, across, you know, if you take the various disciplines that we associate now with the GAA, say, be it, you know, statisticians, if it's strength and conditioning people, if it's coaches, if it's managers, like, the wealth of talent we have here at our disposal is amazing, and it's growing. In fairness, like, we have a lot of people now going through the GA course in Carlow IT, you know, and it gives them a great grounding in, you know, in how to, not management, you know, player development, you know, physical development, you know, the psychological aspects of coaching as well. And we've a lot of we have a lot of Carlow graduates coming through there, so that's obviously building the expertise that we have in the, you know, in that area as well. I think Damien Sheen is actually involved in part of that course as well. So just when you're talking about people who are, you know, involved in delivering that sort of stuff as well. So it is amazing what talent we have there in terms of coaching as well. And it's something to keep promoting. Like, obviously, if you have strong coaches in your clubs and well-educated coaches in our clubs, which we have a good education program there been rolled out in fairness by the county board and the GDAs, and that you're going to improve your games, you're going to improve your players, and sure, that obviously has a knock-on effect then for all our clubs and county as well. So it's a very positive sign,
Sure is. And just a quick one on that, like obviously you give credit to Carlow IT for the course. I think a lot of those coaches would have been in Carlow IT or IT Carlow to give it this great title that have gone on. Like Alan Malone, I think, was there. Anya Kinsella was in doing the course there. I know that for a fact. And you mentioned Damien Sheen. He won a championship with Boughton last year as well. To give him his due. So yeah, we do, in fairness. Joe, while we're waiting on Clíodhna Ní Shé to join us, I think she's on the way back from training and she'll probably another 5 or 10 minutes. We do a bit of post-match to get through from yesterday's Senior Hurling Championship game. So I think maybe it's a good opportune time to do that, because when Barney comes on at 10 o'clock, we won't get word anyway. Look, first of all, we'll focus on the first game from yesterday. It was Monastery Rangers versus Bidenstown. Rangers won this one comfortably, and let's hear now from Michael Doyle. Mr. Tech 7 himself, he's wearing number 4. We call him Tech 7 because he's probably the stickiest marker inside in the county. Michael Doyle, job done. 3-18-9, I think, in the end. They were saying beforehand this was going to be a tight game. I think he put that to bed fairly comprehensively, it has to be said.
Look, to be honest, we know what was ahead of us, and we were preparing all week, because we know they were just in serious form, and after winning under 20, they're an up-and-coming team, and they're a fantastic team at the minute as well. But they were missing a few there as well. We're not under any illusion. We just wanted to get the job done and get it into for a semi-final. So job done really for us. We're really happy.
And top the group as well. Happy enough with that?
Yeah, I suppose that's what we aimed at the start of the year. Winning's a habit, and it's momentum building. So we didn't mind if it was by a point or 2 points. We just wanted to come out today with the win. So we're very happy to do that.
And obviously, I think you're going to have the winners of the next game. I think if Michael draw at the time of recording now, this won't matter afterwards, I suppose, as the fella said. But it will be Ballinkillen or Naomh, looks like, anyway. We know that for sure.
Yeah, but sure, look, we only barely bet Ballinkillen last week. We didn't deserve to win the game. We just barely got over the line. And Michael as well, we only bet him, I think, by 4 or 5 points. So it doesn't matter who we play. It's a semi-final, and it's a 50-50 chance. So we're just going to do our bit on our end, and just try to get into a final. That's our aim.
You're enjoying it anyway, Mike. That's the main thing.
I always enjoy it. Look, when you can play the high game, and after COVID and everything, and you're able to captain your club, sure, what else do you want to? It's better. It's best thing ever.
Giving you a greater appreciation, I'm sure, what's happened the last 18 months.
Yeah, definitely. And look, it's just great to be back with the club after the county scene. Just seeing some of the lads I haven't seen, and we're hoping now, hopefully, obviously, to push on and hopefully get a win next week, and that's the main aim for us.
Last question, Mike. Just in terms of the game itself, enjoying the game, I think, is that something you've learned to do a bit more? You always struck me as a guy that was very laid back, right? But I think when you get to a certain stage, you're like, do you know what, let's enjoy this, let's go back to the simple approach. And is that something you've kind of found in the last couple of years has changed?
I just always enjoy the game. I just love playing the game, and I suppose the biggest thing me enjoyment is just seeing the young lads coming up, like Fitzpatrick there, and we've a few lads on the subs, and they're driving things on, and it's great. It gives me kind of belief that these lads are coming on, and I have to try to keep on top of my game. So I'll hopefully be there for maybe another year or two, and let's see after that.
A year or two close to that. Listen, thanks for talking to us, and well done again, alright?
Take care. Thank you.
Okay, so that, of course, was Michael Doyle, captain of Monastery Rangers this year, I think. So very much leading by example. One of the stickiest cornerbacks you'll get anywhere in the country, not just in Carlow. It's very hard to get anything off him. We're going to hear from Gavin Nolan, the Bidenstown manager, a little bit later, and we do have Owen Larkin and Colin Keeling to play out as well. But we're now joined on the show by Clíodhna Ní Shé. Clíodhna, how's things? How are you keeping? Thanks for coming on so soon after training.
Hi Kevin, how are you? Not too bad.
Thanks
for having me.
Come here. We have to say a very well done and congratulations. That is an incredible tally, and to do it across 3 grades as well. You must have been absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I was absolutely thrilled. It was really good to have done it from a junior team across all grades, especially not to have even reached the final. It was very disappointing not to reach the final, but it was nice to have some sort of excitement on the day for myself anyway. Yeah,
so 9-19 I think it was, and 5 games. So I'm not very good at maths. Joe's a teacher. He might be a Woodward teacher, but we'll see what the maths is like as well.
I need a ruler. That's great. It's around 2-4. It's nearly 10 points a game. It's incredible.
Yeah. Serious going. In fairness to you,
it's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I suppose now I can tell already, and I know a little bit about you, that you're an incredibly modest person, and you'd probably even hate the fact that you have to come on this podcast, but we do appreciate the fact that you have done so. But yeah, where does this kind of score and breeze come from? Do you take it all in your stride? What type of player do you see yourself as? I mean, you seem very chilled about everything.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't get too nervous before games usually, and I've kind of taken frees for most of my life, and I practiced them a good bit. So I don't find that I get that nervous usually during games. Even if I am a little bit nervous before the game, once it gets going, then it's like any other game. Like even the All-Ireland semi-final wouldn't really have bothered me too much, that it was such an important game. Kind of try to do the same routine every morning before a game, eat the same thing and do the same routine. So that's all kind of feels normal.
That's a great way to be, because a lot of people go through their entire careers, and Niamh Dobbs would be a great example. She spoke to us on the Left Wing Back podcast on the My Time in the Gansey series, and she said she just struggled incredibly bad with nerves, had played the game 10 times over in her mind before she even stepped out and used up a lot of nervous energy. But to have that naturally is a great asset to have, and I'm sure you obviously appreciate that too, that maybe some people aren't as lucky to just be able to take it all in their stride.
Well, it's easy. In fairness, it's easy enough to say that when things are going well for you. But yeah, no, I kind of find that I enjoy it. Try to enjoy it as much as I can, like not to concentrate on how important it is or anything like that. Just try to enjoy playing, and then it kind of takes away a bit of the nerves.
The interview was the very same yesterday, actually. Just looking at it on TG Cahir, just in terms of just grand and chill, camera in front of the face, national TV audience. And what I was really impressed was the name dropping of the sponsors as well, which was a very wise thing to think of at a very, I suppose, pressuresome time.
Yeah, well, in fairness to us this year, especially, like we got to keep our jersey after the semi-final, which is first jersey I've ever gotten to keep from playing football all my life and playing for the county all my life, whereas I think some lads could have 5 or 6 jerseys. So it's really good to have good sponsors on board that are interested in us. Like they were definitely watching the matches and at the matches and stuff. So huge thanks to More Environmental and Chop Dolman and Archie Carlo for all the sponsorship. No, seriously though, they have been really, really good to us this year. And it does make a huge difference. Like you wouldn't think, but like it would make a huge difference to the players kind of having that support from the sponsors and stuff like that, just knowing that they're backing us and that they want us to do as well as we can and are willing to help us like reach higher goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in fairness, I think in a lot of men's sports, we take a lot of things for granted. And some things that maybe the men's county teams give out about, if they knew half of what the poor old women had to go through over the last, I don't know how many years, they'd be saying, geez, we should be a bit more grateful. Like, so you're saying there, even that simple thing that struck me was the fact that it's the first jersey you got to keep. Like, those are things you'd nearly be taken for granted that they'd happen for you every year, like, you know. So it seems that there's been great strides made this year, as you mentioned. The sponsors obviously come on board and there's good organisation and that. But there's probably a little bit to go still, Clíodhna, is there?
Definitely, yeah. But with I don't know if you saw, there was the government agreed to equal funding for male and female GA players. So that's huge for us anyway, because even I'm sure some of the other counties would have more funding than we would. But this year we had a nutritionist on board and a sports psychologist, and like that's the first time that we've had these supports with us, and it really makes a huge difference too. It depends on the person how much you want to like participate in these things, but like I found that the nutrition advice definitely made a difference like to my game, and it's the little things like that that can really bring you on and kind of help us all raise our game.
And they're probably the little things that maybe might make a club player decide whether or not they'll actually go in and play for the county as well. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like if you're getting these huge benefits and even you can bring that back to your club mates then, and you're coming back having had your eyes open to kind of a better setup and stuff like that, definitely would encourage more players to come in and when the setup is good and there's good facilities and stuff like that.
And talk to us about the year as a whole then. So, I mean, the one thing that sticks out was obviously the roller coaster of a semi-final when you obviously came so close. That was just a mad game. But in general, how do you feel the year went? And maybe talk us through, give us a flavour of it.
Well, it was very enjoyable anyway. As I was saying, like the setup was really good. We had good strength and conditioning, good physio at every training, which is something we couldn't have said every year. But it was so good to just be back playing. And the junior championship, the way it ran this year was like there was a group of 5. So we had 4 games regardless of how we did, which I found was really good because you just want to be playing matches, and especially with kind of the club championship in Carlow, sometimes there wouldn't be that many games or that many matches. So it's really good to be playing, competitive games week in, week out. And every game we played was very competitive. Obviously, it was very disappointing. We played Antrim in our first match and drew, lost after extra time. So that was really upsetting. And then we played Wicklow, but that was a close enough game as well. And there was a 15 minutes after half time in the Wicklow game. Like we came back, I think we scored like 2-2 or 2-3 without reply, and it really changed the season for us. Kind of just showed us that what we're doing is working, and like that we have the ability to do well in this group. And then obviously went and then beat Derry by a point, which kind of gave us we were nearly sure we'd be into an All-Ireland semi-final. And then we went out and played like a brilliant game against Limerick, and it was just so, like, I really, really enjoyed it and playing with the girls, and it was really nice to see that, like, all the work that we were putting in and all the work the management team was putting in, that we were getting better and better with every game. Then obviously huge disappointment and devastated to lose to Antrim after extra time in the semi-final, but don't think we could have given any more. Like, everybody did everything they could, and you could see like we were all coming up with cramp at the end of extra time, because it was just, we did everything we could and it just didn't go our way on the day. But definitely loads to build on, and hugely looking forward to next year.
Yeah, huge progress. I'd say if you could have played that game again, or maybe next year's championship 2 or 3 days later, kind of a thing, you'd nearly be saying, right, like, we have so much progress made, we've so much to bring forward into next year, can we get going now, sort of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like we had so much momentum, and it was weird. It was definitely very hard the first Tuesday after the Antrim match not to be going down to Milford for training again. You know, it kind of didn't feel like it was real that it was over, but yeah, it was very, very good year.
Yeah, and now you're back with the club. That's obviously where you were this evening. What's preparations like there?
Yeah, going well. We're training this evening, and we have our first championship match against Fenagh on Saturday. So yeah, looking forward to that. You know, it was weird. We actually had been nearly over a year since we had played with the club. Just the way that last year's county season fell, and then this year we were only in with the county as well. So it was really nice to get back with the girls and back training hard.
Obviously, you've developed a very strong rivalry with all Auckland over the last 5-6 years or whatever. So I'm sure that's going to be the main rivals again. There's some pretty good teams out there in general, but yeah, there's been brilliant battles, in fairness. And I don't think there's actually a whole lot between the two of you.
No, well, the last few county finals have been very tough. They've obviously come out on top, the last 3 of them. But yeah, it will be a huge battle again. So yeah, looking forward to that in a few weeks.
And can I just ask, how many years have you been actually playing senior? Because I know you're only 21, I think, are you?
Yeah, 21. I'll be 22 next week.
You've played what? Have you played 5 or 6 years? Probably senior already.
This will be my 7th year. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's mad stuff. Like, and even Jesus, yeah. Like, if you look at it, Joe, in fairness, if you look at the men's game, if you're playing senior for 7 years, you're 25, 26 probably.
Yeah.
Now in the modern stuff,
Amazing.
like, so.
Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. So in that period then, Clíodhna, like, what have you kind of learned in that? You know, is it more so, you know, you've obviously got physically stronger as well, you've probably a bit more to go, you're still very young, like, but was that a big eye-opener? What's your big learnings over the last years since you've been playing senior?
Well, I think the main thing that is that, like, the standard in general of ladies football, like in Carlow, and I don't know if you watched the finals yesterday, like, everywhere it's just improved. Like, it's phenomenal. Because I played my first year senior. I was 15 playing, and you know, I wouldn't have been, well, I probably was one of the smallest, but you know, I wouldn't have stood out as being the youngest or anything like that. There was a lot of girls my age, born the same year as me, playing as well. Whereas now I feel like the standard is improving, and you might have 1 or 2 minors on your team and the rest to be adult and playing for years. Definitely found that people are physically stronger. The strength and conditioning involved even in the clubs is huge. So I think the standard of ladies football across the whole of Ireland and has really, really improved even in the last few years since I've been playing.
Yeah, and go on, yeah.
Sorry, Kevin. No, just a point on that about Carlow football. I'll hold my hand up. I suppose I have a young girl, and she's playing under 11 this year with Fenagh, and I was just gobsmacked. Apart from the standard of footballers, but the amount now playing, say even Fenagh at that age group, I think at under 11 they had 20 something players. You know, we played the Fighting Cocks in our semi-final, and they had, you know, massive number of players. They played St Anne's in the final. You know, we played Burn in our Shield final. There's all the other clubs, Bidenstown. You know, you've Aerogue, you've the Towntals, Bennekerry. You know, it's just blossoming now in Carlow, and that must be exciting, because I know you're 22 or whatever, and like there's plenty more years there, and you're going to see hopefully you're going to see the benefits of those numbers coming through, and hopefully be playing with yourself, Clíodhna, in the next couple of years. That must kind of excite you and drive you on and keep you going as well, to see the underage kind of coming good as well. It must hearten the players to keep them going as well, because you know that the talent coming underneath is going to really drive things maybe to another level as well, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some amount of numbers in under 12. I think we had 2 teams this year, and even for the first year, our club has an under 8 and under 10 team. You know, where I wouldn't have had. First time I played with the girls would have been when I was playing under 12. So brilliant to see that so many girls involved, and hopefully, I know the LGFA are definitely really trying hard to keep people involved. You know, that age group when they usually kind of drop off. But yeah, it's great to see so many girls playing ladies football.
Well, it was the big, just to say as well, Kevin, sorry again to cut across you.
You're not cutting across me at all.
It was actually the biggest crowd I have seen at a match this year, full stop, was at the 2 finals of the under 12, the Shield we were playing on called the bottom pitch in the training centre. And the top match was the Fighting Cocks against St Anne's. And I can't remember the score, but I know, I'm fairly sure the Fighting Cocks lost on a scoreline. The score 3-11. Which for a relatively short-sighted game, and and with girls growing as well, and sometimes yourself at that age group, it can be the scores can be low. It was incredible, and I got to see some of it after our game. There was a little bit of a delay in the matches, and I got to see some of it, and the standard was amazing, absolutely amazing. But the crowd, the support was brilliant as well too. I know you have lots of parents there, but it was the biggest crowd, literally bar none I've seen, even at our inter-county game, even at the senior semi. Or the senior matches in Dr. Cullen last week, the crowd wasn't same. Absolutely all around the fence was packed. And I think that support is brilliant to see. I think, at the National League games as well, the support is growing as well. And I think all that's going to make the game, healthier. And, and like what Clíodhna said there as well, the expertise that's now flowing into the game is brilliant. And, I think it's just brilliant. And I'm hoping that all these clubs in Carlow keep it going, because it'll be exciting times for the senior football team,
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you. There was huge crowds at our games as well. Like, even there's great support. Travelled to Dunleer and Louth to see our semi-final, and even all our group games, we had huge support. And it's so nice as a player to hear everyone cheering you on. Like, it really does drive you on the pitch. So yeah, it is really good to see.
Definitely. If you actually, I'm after mentioning Niamh Dobbs already, but if you go back and listen or look at that episode and you hear what she said about, was she on the lads team under 14 or something? I think under 14 lads. I don't know if they had a team, and then there was either play with all Auckland or play with nobody at one stage, and she ended up playing up here in Clíodhna. And you look at that now and what you just said, if that's not a real sign of progress, I don't know what is. So if we can kind of harness that, and keep with it, we're going places, in fairness, Clíodhna, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. The underage setup in Carlow has definitely gotten better, and there's huge talent coming up, so very exciting to see. And it's great to have, there's so many young girls involved in the county teams. I know, I remember some days we'd be struggling to have 15 on some of our county teams when we were younger, whereas now I know they're holding nearly trials. There's so many people trying to be involved, which is what you want everyone to striving to be on the county team. So yeah, really exciting going forward.
Do you mind me asking, Clíodhna, having Milford as a base, is that a good thing to kind of have a kind of a home, I suppose, maybe for years sometimes? And I suppose like G8, like all county teams, maybe up to a while, we're kind of wandering from club to club. But is it nice for to have that home that maybe when you started out that venues were chopping and changing in terms of training and stuff like that? Does that kind of, like you said, is that one more thing kind of nailed down for you?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I should have mentioned that earlier. It was really nice. This was the first year that we actually had a proper base, and we were guaranteed a good pitch, a good GA pitch every night for training. And it really relieved stress of trying to get texting everyone, trying to find a club pitch we could have like an hour before training. So yeah, we were really lucky there now to have Milford, and it was always kept, like, it was always in great condition. So yeah, it was really nice to know exactly where you were training, and we didn't have to change our times or our nights. If it would never clash to anyone. So yeah, it was huge to have that this year. It was really good. And also on a personal level, it's like less than 5 minutes from my house, so that was a benefit for me.
Is there actually anything to be said for making that, like, I don't know if Milford have plans to come back or not, and it would be great to see him back in the club level, but could that be like a hub for, say, ladies football? I know the Camogie team are out there as well, but it wouldn't be the worst idea, would it?
I think all the ladies are like the ladies football and the camogie and
Yeah.
underage and all are out there. Yeah, it's great facilities to have, and it's really good to see that we're utilising it. Because I think there were a few years there wasn't much going on there. So yeah, it's really, really good to have. We're really lucky to have such a good pitch that we have access to whenever we need.
Just before we finish up as well, so we have a number of officials going places as well. Marion Hayden, Johnny Murphy, Liam Mullins, all making waves. So that's obviously a very positive thing as well.
Yeah, really is to have such a good quality officials in the county, because sometimes you'd find if the refs or the officials, don't know the rules or aren't up to scratch, you go to county and you don't know what you're doing wrong and you're giving away too many frees and stuff like that. So we're really lucky to have the likes of Marion and Johnny and Leah up there. I think they were in Croke Park yesterday, so it's really good to have them. So good for the county, and even for if they're reffing underage matches, like to have the rules explained, because when I was younger I probably didn't even know the rules properly. So yeah, we're really lucky to have them in the county.
Well, Joe, any last question for Clíodhna before we let her go?
Oh, I again, just to congratulate her on her wonderful achievement. She's going to be a huge role model now for the underage in the county. It's brilliant that our players are getting recognition, on the national stage for their incredible, they're like, that's just incredible. Like, you're averaging 9-10 points a game. Jesus, that's incredible. I wouldn't say I scored that in my whole career, or Kevin there either between us. Never mind the one season. It's just incredible, and
that's hurling and football.
Yeah, but I mean, you're just it's brilliant to have role models, because that's what. When people and young people now see, people, your reward and you getting your reward, and you're on social media, and we know young people now are on social media. Even my children at that age are kind of looking at little things, and it's brilliant to see that, and they make the connection then with the ladies football and the Carlow, and we kind of are battling along. We're battling along for recognition across all levels, and it's brilliant that you're getting it, and fully deserved, and fair play to you. It's brilliant to see it.
Thanks, William.
Listen, Clíodhna, thanks for coming on the Left Wing Back podcast. It's great to have you on. Well done again. Unbelievable achievement. And we'll chat to you again soon, all right?
Thanks, William. Thanks for having me.
There we go. Clíodhna Ní Shé. Incredible. 9-19. Absolutely incredible. And one comment I'd have to make there as well. You would not think that girl is 21. Her head is just so screwed on. She's so calm, so articulate, and going serious places. Yeah, brilliant. It's great to see, isn't it? Like, I mean, and that should be, like, her achievement should be absolutely, I won't say plastered over everywhere, but it should be really, it's a massive tool to promote not only her own individual achievement, which is incredible, but to promote things. You know what I mean? It's great. It's great on the national stage. The Carlow and Carlow ladies are right up there, and like I said, only for maybe a kick of a ball, they could have been thereabouts in their own final as well. But look, hopefully next year they'll build on it. And it's great to see as well that a good spot, like, to have their sponsors on board. Like, we've Corcoran's there tonight up in the top corner, and it's brilliant that that their facilities and so on are being up, and brings them on, like, and it's great. The Milford thing, I think, is a massive plus, and I think, as far as I know, Kevin, I think I don't think there's any plans at the minute to reform Milford, and I think it kind of goes. I think it goes under the stewardship of the GA or something like that. I can't remember the playing area or whatever. But isn't it better isn't it better to be creative with it and its uses, and to reuse it for its purpose, with lovely dressing rooms there, rather than it kind of letting it go to going to nothing, or going to seed or whatever. So it's great. It's a win-win situation for everyone involved. Look, not to be putting on my auctioneer's hat, right, but, like, centralised location, easy for everyone to get to, decent pitch, late as well, yeah. Is it late? I think it could be. So I think there could be training lights on it. Yeah. There's definitely some sort of lights on anyway. I don't know if they're game spec standard or whatever, but no, I don't think they are. But I think yeah. But it's brilliant, isn't it? Like, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And you look at the hardship, the squabbling that poor old ladies teams do have to do to try to get pitches, like. Yeah. It is a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. So that would be fantastic if it could work out. But there we go. Clíodhna Ní Shé. Joe, we're going to jump in and have some more post-match from the weekend's games. Let's hear from Gavin Nolan here next after Bidenstown's defeat. Gavin, I suppose not the performance you would have wanted. Not that it matters a huge amount, because there wasn't a whole lot at stake. There will be more at stake next weekend, obviously, but probably not too impressed nonetheless.
No, not ideal preparation going into next weekend. I suppose the most worrying thing, I suppose, from our point of view, was their attitude. Maybe lads were complacent that we're in a semi-final and we kind of maybe had one eye on it. But look, it's not ideal preparation. Louth Rangers are a serious side. The way they move the ball, the way they use it. Look, they're the best in Carlow at the moment, and I suppose it's after giving us a land that maybe might be coming at the right time ahead of next weekend. So look, it's not ideal, but we're in a semi-final, and I suppose we would have took that at the start of the year, so we'll just have to regroup and refocus and try to get ready for St Mullins now next Sunday.
Just in terms of the lads that you're missing, so 4 of the 6 forwards from the last day didn't start today. David Corcoran obviously came on, but Jamie Clark, James Doyle and Craig Doyle played no part. So what's the story with the lads? Are they expected to be alright for next week?
Yeah, look, hopefully they should be. They had a couple of ankle injuries. Milky or James got a nasty ear injury as well, so he still has stitches and that. But look, that's no excuse for today. You know, lads had an opportunity to come into the fold and step up to the plate, and you know, 3 boys aren't going to come in and work wonders and turn around 18 or 19 points. So it's a collective effort, and we'll all really have to have a long look at ourselves and go back training Tuesday, assess it, and try, I suppose, pick up the boys again and get ready to go for the weekend.
Lastly, look, it's not going to be a game that you'll probably be favourites in, despite the fact that you have the 3 wins. There won't matter a whole lot on you, because if you go out and perform like you did in the first 3 games, sure, I mean, you have a great chance, like.
Look, we have to get back to that level, and we have to get back better, I suppose, than we were the last time we played St Mullins. We know they have Martin Kavanagh's back, and they're after rejigging their team. There'll be a far different outfit to the team we played in the league championship. But look, it's semi-final stage, it's do or die. It's 60 minutes and get to a county final. So look, it's massive to look forward to. Not ideal today, but we have to just regroup and man up and get on with it.
Well, the best luck against St Mullins, Gavin, and thanks for talking to us there.
Thanks
all right.
Cheers.
There you go, Gavin Nolan, and a little bit earlier we did hear from Michael Doyle as well. So Joe, I'll just get your thoughts on those 2 interviews. Gavin obviously being the most recent, so he mentioned the attitude. He wasn't happy with that. For me and you yesterday, obviously we were at the game. I would go along with that, but the most striking thing was, and you talk about quite a lot, basic skills like touch, hand passes were off, striking, basic fundamentals, which was a little bit strange. Like, they've only had a week. There was a week of a gap. A lot of lads would have played during the week. Don't know if maybe there were 1 or 2 were feeling the effects of it or not. Not endorsing that sort of thing here, even though it is after 9 o'clock. But like, what do you think that was? Because while Rangers won comfortably, I didn't feel that they had to break much of a sweat in winning comfortably, if that makes sense. So, like, where did you see it? It was a funny sort of a game. Like, it was over very early. It was the longest second half I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a dead game. Even at the start, we were remarking with kind of low score. Remember, we were kind of chatting beside each other, or sitting beside each other, and very low score in first quarter. And even half time, it took a while to get going, but it's hard. It's really hard to know. You probably can't really. I know he speaks there about the lads being, the 3 or 4 lads won't make up the deficit, but sometimes the 3 or 4 lads can kind of set the tone maybe at the start of the game, and they can make a huge difference to the tempo of the game. But I think maybe, right, he didn't want to risk the lads, and probably then going out, maybe there was a mindset of, well, look, we're down a few lads, we're short a few lads, we're in a semi-final already. Now maybe it's obviously not said, because I think it was Michael Doyle in the first interview there I mentioned about, winning being a habit and a good habit. But they were a little bit off. Yeah, their skill set was a bit off. And I know we'll talk about it more when Stevie comes in. But I mean, look, I suppose if you look back through the team, and you mentioned it there, you had probably 4 or 5 of the lads have played a second big game, in a week, maybe even 3 games in 7 days. So probably maybe a little bit leg weary as well there for them. But definitely that Christmas wasn't there in my thought anyway, Kevin. But again, if you load your forwards there with 4 or 5 more other players, and take like Craig, or take, say, Jamie there coming in, and that direct running style and running at teams and carrying ball and taking a bit of pressure off the back line, that kind of raises the tempo of other lads and gives you a foothold in a game as well. So there probably were a bigger loss. And I know it's very simplistic to say it, but they're not going to score 18 points, but had they been on the pitch, probably whatever that margin or whatever it was in the end, probably wouldn't have been between them, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's fair and reasonable. I'm not going to be smart and say obvious, but like it is though, isn't it? Kind of like, I suppose when they are in the field, it is a bit closer. Having said that, like it's very hard to say ifs and buts and all that. But
I suppose
they have a good bit of work to do in a week now. I'll put
they do. But the other thing about it is, I suppose, look, they're coming on the back of three victories, right? And I know we said like you don't want to burst that bubble, but I suppose Monastery Rangers had probably more to prove, or maybe wanted to up a little bit. Maybe, we tightened them the week before. We gave them a massive battle, and maybe they probably felt that they needed to blow out the cobwebs a little bit more. Even there near the end, I think again we were standing near each other, and you could hear the intensity on the pitch. I don't like singling out lads or anything, but Eddie Byrne was doing a lot of talking, a lot of organising. Even at this stage, the game was well over. Like there was no, the game was done, as I say, in terms of the contest, and well into the second half. And he was driving on the boys, barking at them for the puck outs and everything like that. So there kind of was a difference in tempo there, and maybe Mount Leinster Rangers had more to prove, if you get me, or not to prove, but maybe more. They wanted to blow out maybe that, maybe those doubts in their mind, maybe that Ballinkillen put in their minds from the previous weekend, and probably maybe set the tone a little bit more. But it's going to be hard. Yeah, it's kind of going to be hard to reset in the week. But they have to, they have to, and you can't be that mentally fragile. If you can raise it for 3 weeks run, right, you're bound to have a dip, and I suppose it'll be a real sign of what they're made of come Sunday, or come the weekend when they do play Rangers. But I definitely think the four lads, like you look at it this year, we talked about them individually, like they really do. They lead from the front, literally lead from the front. You know what I mean? As solid as the backs are, their forwards, like now this year, are and we mentioned Styler and Scoren and Craig and whoever else, James and David, and that the work they do, they really set the tone from the front. And I think it'll be a different Bidenstown team come Sunday, come the weekend.
Yeah, I think so as well. I was going to say it in the interview, and then it actually slipped my mind when I was interviewing Gavin Owen. But the first thing he said when I stopped the interview, he goes, "You enjoyed the stag anyway, did you?" And then I said to him, it's like, yeah, and I'm probably after I was responsible for Davey losing his place in the team.
Oh, Jesus.
But I don't know if it was or not. Now, I haven't been talking to Davey since, but Dave, I'm sorry, and I hope you get back in next week. But, he did very well, Davey did, against Ballinkillen. He makes the ball stick, and I think that possibly was a bit of an issue yesterday. The ball didn't really stick. Going back to Rangers, and Michael spoke about they're focused, they want wins, they're trying to build momentum. I think there is an element of what you said, a good bit of truth in what you should say, or what you said I should say, in terms of the fact that Ballinkillen did shake them up a little bit, and they did have to go on and prove something yesterday, which they did. But I still feel there's another gear there. I don't think they needed to go up with that gear. Do you know what I mean? Even though they played well. Do you think that they're actually still anywhere near their best, or do you think we've seen them at their best this year? I don't think we have so far.
Well, not compared to last year, I imagine. Last year they were really a level, they were really a level above everyone. They really blew everyone away last year, and I don't think they've hurled to that level yet.
They won't be too upset about that though either, probably.
No, well, look, they topped the group. They topped the group.
What more can they do?
The 4 wins, the wonder games, they've flexed their muscles in various parts of games. If you look at it, the last 15 minutes against us, they flexed. They pulled away. Did the damage done against St Mullins? In devastating fashion. Michael, they got over the line. With minus a player for whatever, half an hour, 35 minutes or more. Yesterday as well, they just did what they had to do. But I don't think that kind of level of last year they were literally, from minute 1 to minute 65, they were blowing teams away. And I don't think they've reached that level there yet. Now I know they're down a couple of lads as well, a couple of injuries, and lads have had little knocks during the year as well, maybe come back from county and stuff like that. So, but like what Michael Dial said, they did what they had to do. They've had their 4 wins. They're top of the group. They're in the semi-final. So now is the time, if they're going to produce that. And no more than any, the other 3 teams Sunday is when you produce it. You know what I mean? What's gone on in the past is immaterial now, you know. But I suppose sometimes it can be hard if your level is very low all year to produce a magic performance. But I suppose, look, they've been doing enough, like, but not at last year's level.
For sure. Now, look, I know Stevie is going to jump in the next few minutes or so, but we are obviously on a stream for an hour as well, so we may plow on and look back at the second game, and then Stevie will be on by the time we preview the games coming up, and we've player of the week and team of the week to get through there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the second game, unless you have any last thoughts on the first one.
Well, that's why I didn't realize we were previewing now. The first game, like, it was kind of a dead game. It was kind of a lot of shadow box, and even the tempo on it wasn't great. I suppose, I thought Monastery Rangers had a bit of homework done, like, in terms of their matchups, and we talked maybe about that on the day. Danny Doyle was having a big influence, I suppose, for Bidenstown during the year, and he did a massive tussle there with Gary Lawler, and I think Monastery Rangers kind of had a couple of, maybe kind of seeing what kind of works and what doesn't work. They did a lot of changes there. Gary was wing back. You had Darragh O'Toole, which was great to see Darragh making his debut. Another change. Tony Lawler up wing forward. So they're obviously trying things, trying to tweak things a little bit there as well. Chris Nolan coming back to a bit of form. I think there's not that he doesn't ever have class or form, but really hit some magical points. He hit one, I think, we looked at it, remember, off his left-hand side in the second half, just up and banging into the hand and over the bar. And for Michael on Sunday, or whoever else, if they're lucky to get over Michael on Sunday, and you're seeing him coming into that sort of form, you're kind of wondering, because when he clicks really well. I suppose Bidenstown Gales, again, they tried out a few more lads off the bench. I think that, Oisin Dillon, that was his first start. I think was that his first actual appearance in the championship this year? I think,
Possibly, yeah.
You had who else? They brought in the one or two other lads.
Come on and score 2 points.
Richie, come on, yeah. Richie had played this year already.
Jay Doyle started and scored, I think, 2 or 3 from play. One of those was ridiculous, actually, outside. At the defence nearly at the terrace side.
In front of us, and I know Shane Cody come on. I know he got the couple of yellows and he had to go off, but so I suppose they got something out of the game as well.
That was Dowling. I think that was Dowling.
Oh, sorry, I get them mixed up.
Yeah,
yes, sorry.
2 more white helmets in fairness.
Yeah. So, they blooded a few more lads. A few more lads got a few more minutes senior hurling. So look, they'll take something out of it. Look, like, do you show? Like, is it a case that you don't show your hand? Whatever else. You don't know what. Like, we're only hearing something from Gavin, and he's saying, "Oh, lads didn't put their hand up for starting place or whatever else." But sure, the back of it, what's kind of what was the game plan, or what's the mindset there? I don't think they'll be probably disappointed with the margin, but I think I don't think it'll worry him come Sunday.
I'm going to say this. I know this all a long time, right? So he won't mind me saying it. He was sound to a few lads yesterday. I'll put it like that. I thought Danny Doyle was very, very lucky. When you make a connection like that, or try to make a connection overhead and you don't get the ball, you're in a bit of trouble. He got away with that. I think Owen Dowling had a swipe across John Nolan, or not John Nolan. He swiped across someone else, but John Nolan came in, and possible 2 reds there. You could have been looking at 3 red cards yesterday, but Paddy was sound. If the cards are given, we're given out, so we can't be given out when they're not given either. But in fairness, I'd say the fact that there's a semi-final next week, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for the man because I don't know. But maybe you'd be thinking that in the back of your head. But like, he was sound enough to the boys now. I've seen lads walk for less. But like, there we go.
But look, I think both referees, there was a lot of, both referees yesterday, Brian Deering and Patrick, like, they kind of tried to let the game go, let it develop, and there was bits here and there, but they were kind of, I think they were very sensible about it, like, and no one wants to see, look, right, Danny's probably mistimed, and like you said, when you kind of lose control like that, like, on another day it could be given, but like, I think this sensible thing was done on the day. No one wants to see anyone. So, I think so. I think in fairness.
Now, there's a lot of Rangers people looking at this, and I'd say they're not going to agree, because their roars coming out of the stand was unnatural. But anyway, look, it is what it is. Lads, there's a full fleet, I think, available for next weekend, so lads are going to be happy. I have to go on to this next bit of post match here. So Who do you want first? Do you want the one Larkin or do you want Colin Keeling?
Oh, I don't mind. You call it.
Right. Well, look, I'm gonna wax lyrical about Michael in a little while. So we'll talk to Owen Larkin here first. Owen, I was just saying there, I feel a little bit like the Grim Reaper after speaking to you twice now, and it hasn't been good. But look, I won't keep you. Disappointing, obviously, Owen, because we knew this was a knockout game. Didn't go in your favour. How did you assess it in general?
Look, to be honest, we never really got going at all. You know, I thought we had turned the corner last week. I know we didn't get the result, but I thought we had turned the corner on a performance. I thought we were outstanding last week, and maybe just ran out a bit of legs. We thought we were going to have 2 or 3 back this week, and probably only got 1 back, and he was only really kind of 70-75%. But look, we never got going. You know, Levo just took over the game from minute 1, and I know we threw everything at kitchen sink in the second half, but we were playing second fiddle the whole time, and at this level you just can't do that.
Look, it wasn't for the want to try. I just felt maybe the first 15 minutes their half back line, you got kind of caught there, you weren't winning the primary possession, and ultimately that gave them the platform. But still, there was only a few points in it, wasn't there, at that point?
But look, that's the game of hurling now. You know, if you're not winning their puck-outs or their puck-outs, you know, you're really fighting the losing battle, and you're swimming against the tide. And you know, for the first 15 minutes we got wiped out in the whole lot of them, and exactly what you said, that gave them a platform, it gave them the confidence to go forward, and you know, they kept tagging on the points and we just couldn't catch up. I
think overall, in fairness to your credit, it wasn't for the want to try, and you've made a lot of changes. You know, it just didn't work out, and I think in fairness you haven't had much luck this year either, so there is I know it's no consolation to you, but honestly, like, you would feel a little bit that maybe things just didn't work out, and the same with intermediates struggling for bodies and things. That can happen though in clubs from year to year, and I suppose maybe that's something you mightn't have seen too much coming from your own club.
No, and that's it, sure. Look, Ballykinlan is a small kind of a parish, you know, and in fairness to them, they're probably punching above their weight with numbers wise, but like, you know, they're all for the club, and look, we haven't had much luck. There's no getting away from that, but you can't use that as an excuse either. But look, Huron is an obvious one there. You know, it'd be a savage loss. You know,
any team.
Driving. Look, he was a savage loss to Carlow even. You know, so that's an inter-county team. So you can imagine the loss he is to us. But look, we're not going to make excuses either. You know, we said after the Bidenstown game we wouldn't make excuses, and we couldn't have any excuses. And you know, today we're just second best, and you know, when you're second best, you don't win. That's the end of it.
It's pretty harsh trying to ask you the question, but first year's management, how what do you think it's gone? Like, how was it? Did it match your expectations, I suppose?
Look, you know, I suppose you're based on results, and we haven't won a game in the league, so I wouldn't say it's gone great. But have I enjoyed it? Yeah, I have enjoyed it. The lads are great to work with, like, and they've given me everything, you know. And probably, you know, we played a couple of challenge matches and we played very well, and we haven't really played well in the league this year, which is the disappointing part, you know. You know, but the lads gave everything, and it's just about turning that into performances now on the biggest days, and that's days like today, and you know, that's where we'll have to improve.
Well, listen, thanks for having a chat with us. I know it's disappointing, but we appreciate it, alright?
No matter.
Alright, there we have it. Owen Larkin, honest as always. As you could probably tell, I was a little bit nervous asking that last question, hence the stuttering and stammering a little bit for it, but he answered it honestly. He says it's a results business. I'll let you kind of analyse the game from a Ballykinlan point of view before I start talking about Nevo on, and maybe refer to Owen's thoughts there as well.
Okay, well, I suppose the game first. I think he hit the nail on the head, really. I suppose that at half time we were struggling. I think was it 8 points at half time or 7 points?
12-5 at half time.
12-5, 7 points, yeah.
17-11 at full, was it? I think.
Yeah. So we were under pressure, and probably coming in only that, you know, 7 points down at half time, you know, we were probably blessed, to be honest with you. We couldn't turn them. I think we probably hit the same problem as St Mullins when, you know, Michael and St Mullins hurled, or Nevon and St Mullins hurled a couple of weeks ago. We kind of, you know, the Michael half back line midfield area, you know, that kind of whole middle third, you know, we kept kind of probably going long into that area, and we got no joy. I think between their puck out and ours, I think we lost 16 puck outs in that half, you know, between ours and theirs. So, you know, and that doesn't mean primary, like in terms of every one of them being caught or anything, but it just means maybe on a break, you know, or, you know, second ball or whatever. And you know, I don't like using that word hungry, you know, or they were hungrier for it, or they wanted it more. Because, like, I've seen how, you know, and you know, the lads, you know, the Walls and that, like, our lads wanted it as much. Like, no one no one doesn't want to win or want to do their best. It was just probably they were out muscled there, and probably, maybe, it might be something that we kind of maybe revisit next year in terms of how we, maybe work the ball through that area, or how we set up on the breaks, or, or personnel or whatever. But, it was probably the rock we perished on in the first half, and probably give Naomh Eoin a massive platform then to build on. They were very dominant there. You two wing forwards then on their own puck out in Conor Foley and John Michael Nolan, who were excellent on the day. And caught some fantastic ball. And I know we might be talking about Warner in particular maybe later on as well in terms of their performances. And I think that's probably where we got strangled in the first half. We just really couldn't get the ball in. Obviously, Sean then went inside, and Sean Murphy, and I think he tipped over 2, if not 3 points, when he did get the ball. But it was kind of scarce going in there. And in fairness as well to Ross Smithers, he had a top game on him. Ross picked off a point as well. But we just couldn't turn over the ball. And in fairness then, if you're losing that many balls, 16 puck outs out, probably maybe, I can't remember how many wides, maybe 25, 26 over that half. It's 70 or 80%. And that's something, in any level now, club or inter-county, that we can't afford to lose. I happen to be talking just in terms of possession and the puck outs. It's interesting the way clubs focus on them. There's a good friend of mine who's involved with Turlough in Galway, and they got to the county final this year, lost out to Thomas's. But I know they were up in their own rates on their own puck outs, up to 70% in terms of possession off their own puck outs. And with the game plan that they organise, and and even on opposition puck outs as well. So puck outs now, are a big thing, and that doesn't just come down to the goalie or anything like that. It's about how you're set up, across the pitch, and in terms of how you attack the breaks as well, and so on. And obviously your players as well. Look, from a Naomh Eoin point of view, if you have 2 men the half forward line with hands like Conor and John Michael, you have a great target there as well. So it's probably something that we probably didn't capitalize on, or that Michael Naomh Eoin kind of cleaned us out on there, really. There's a lot of industrious players there as well around the middle. James Smithers, Dinny Joe Regan, in around the middle there, absolutely working their socks off. Diego Dunn, we probably haven't mentioned him enough really this year for his work rate. He's kind of one of these lads. I think if someone said to me, the harder the game, the more he works, sort of thing. And I think their work rate, brought them across. But they were probably due a result. Probably the goals against Bidenstown probably maybe, drew Bidenstown away. And then their wides in the next 2 games, both against Monastery Rangers and against St Mullins, ultimately cost them 1, if not maybe both of those games. So I suppose they were due to come good and due to finish a team. And I think Owen hit the nail on the head there. We probably needed 1 or 2 or 3 more of those bodies or players to be back to give us a little bit of a lift if we were to threaten them. But probably our return from scores as well. I think we've got maybe 13 or 14 scores, the most we scored in the championship this year. I think whatever was a 2-12 against Monastery Rangers, and that's probably not going to win you a championship game either at this level. You probably need to be hitting kind of 20 points, to be competitive, and we haven't been hitting those levels either. But look, it's disappointing. I know the lads worked hard. I know Owen worked hard. In the selectors as well, put in a big effort. But the best team won on the day. I don't think we can have any. We can't have any complaints about Naomh Eoin's performance. I thought anyway, Kev.
And I can't really have any complaints about Stevie Bambrick, because he's after joining us at 10 nearly here.
The Blair Witch Project.
Blair Witch Project. I'll try into the middle here, Stevie. The Banniga goal curse struck Mark Brennan as well. While we did have him, we had about 3 or 4 seconds of a delay, and then the battery shit itself. So
we got hello off him, and that was it. Gone.
Hello, how are you getting on? We said well done. I think he picked us up on the well done. He was just about to say something, and then gone. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us, Stevie. Look, just to bring up today what we were missing out, or what you were missing out on there, was we've gone through Bidenstown and Rangers. We're not going to go back onto it now just with time. We're after been talking about Naomh Eoin and Ballinkillen there, as you can see, just from the point of view of Ballinkillen first of all, and we heard from Owen Larkin. So before we bring in for a contribution, I'll just play out the interview here with Colin Keeling. Colin, job done. Very impressive performance, and happy to be in a semi-final, not out.
Yeah, we're happy enough to be in a semi-final. It was a job done, but I wouldn't say it was real stylish or anything. It was a battle, and that's the way it was played. And look, there was a lot of hitting in it and a lot of shots, but look, we just seemed to get the breaks in the first half, and we got the lead up and they couldn't get it back, you know.
The old school Michael characteristics, I think, stood you in good stead today. The battle was there, the lads wanted the battle, but they showed very good patches of hurling as well, which Michael is well able to do, so that must be very pleasing.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether you could ever doubt the passion of Michael. It's there. It's just maybe things didn't go right with him and different things. But I'm getting a bit of a tune out of him. And if you go down to the field any night and you heard 15 on 15, you'll see what passion you like. So, they're training really well. We just weren't putting the performances together to get over the line. And just delighted for the lads more so than anyone else to get over the line, So we did hurl well, but there's a lot more in them. We coughed up a lot of scores and we missed handy ones as well, So
those improvements are gradual, I feel, throughout the season. And again today you improved, so that can only be a positive thing, obviously, because I felt maybe at times lads were a bit harsh on you last year, and I think he's answering a lot of questions now, to be honest with you, in the last few weeks, and you have a good little bit going for you now next week, and nobody loves a Rangers game more than Michael, let me tell you.
No, look at there's rivalries everywhere. There's rivalries in Wexford, there's rivalries everywhere, so I'm sure there'll be a rivalry that I don't know much about, but it's 15 on 15, and they're red hot favourites without a shadow of a doubt. They're the best hurlers in the county, but we have to come up with something to see can we curtail it a bit and take our chances. If we're in it in the last 15, we'll could see what could happen.
And lastly, just a real spread of scores as well. Obviously Brian put over a nice few from frees and so did Adam, but throughout the team, I don't have the actual figure on it, but there was a serious spread. Your two midfielders scored, a lot of your forwards scored, and again that can only be good.
Yeah, look, they're working hard on it, because we weren't scoring in the first game. We were relying on John Mike and Dean, and between we had a good few injuries this week down in the field, so we were lucky to get John Michael on the field, and we were lucky to have Dean back this time. He's not even fully right yet, so look, there are plenty of hurlers down there, so if we can just keep going and keep improving, you don't know what happens. Semi-finals, anything can happen. If we can be as I said, in the last 15 minutes, we'll be thereabouts.
Onwards and upwards. Well, listen, the best of luck and thanks for talking to us.
No bother, thanks very much.
All right, there you have it. So I think a lot of what I wanted to discuss with you lads, I kind of asked Colin himself there, but just from where I was for the second game in the stand, I was just in around that area where I suppose on the Michael half back line, Ballinkillen half forward line. And I felt in that 15-minute period, the first 15 minutes, even though there's only 2 or 3 points in it, that's literally where they set the foundations. The puck out come out, and Joe, you've touched on it, and the fact that there wasn't much success with it or whatever, but they just gobbled up everything. And on both puck outs, actually, to be quite honest about it, they just seemed to gobble up everything, whether it was clean or just wanted to get in on the breaking ball, and the delivery was quick. The spread of scores, as we said there, Diego Dunn got a point. Denny Joe got a point. That's your two midfielders. Connor Foley scored. John Michael scored. Adam Kenny got a score from play. James Smithers caused all kinds of problems from centre forward with his direct running. Didn't actually get a score, but just that direct line running and won a few of those frees, I think, that Adam Kenny put over. So, we said last week, I didn't see Nave 1 this year. It was my first time seeing him. Very impressed with them. And it just gets me into a frame of mind where I think that we never thought we were going to be pushed over against Rangers anyway, but I think this is going to be a bit of a battle, lads, and these lads are humming along nicely. As we said, the improvements are gradual. They have a win under their belt now as well. The week will do the boys no harm. Dean Slay only played a few minutes. John Michael done his ankle, I believe, on Monday, and still played the game and played very, very well, it must be said. Connor Foley with 3 points from play. And even you go back to Owen Hosey, cornerback, thought was brilliant. Kavanagh in the other corner, brilliant. Micheál Mullins, not even a natural centre back, but playing very well there. Just holding that middle. Distribution is very good. Pull first time on the ball, which was great to see actually. And there's just so much, in my opinion, so much to admire. Am I talking about them winning a championship at the moment? No, don't get me wrong. I'm not getting carried away for a second. But what I am just going to say is that the improvements that they have made are serious, and they're going to be very, very hard bet. So I don't know what you thought of them, lads, but that's my thoughts on them anyway.
Yeah, well, I was impressed with them, and Colin Keelan said it there, the scores, that they should have got more scores the first half, and Like Ballinkillen spent about 3 minutes in between the 55th and 58th minute, or that they were 7 points down and didn't bring it back to 6. They had a couple of frees, and I don't think they were ever really looked like getting a goal other than the chance Chuchu had. Now Brian Tracy made a good save. We were crying out last week for defenders and goalkeepers for the team of the week. So Brian Tracy stood up there yesterday, big time. But I was impressed. Like Ross Smithers got a shoulder off of Dion Wall in the first minute, like, and fair play to him, he got up, and the next ball he got, I think he got a point off it. And that'd be Michael mentality too. Like, there'd be no giving in. And James Smithers, I would have seen him playing intermediate last year, corner forward, and I actually thought it was Killian McCabe for a second yesterday. He had the helmet off before the match. What I say, it looks like a younger version of him, but he took 2 or 3 severe hits and got frees. Like, and they're things at the end of the day, whether they get a score over or not, they're psychological battles you need to win. And like, look, they'll need to win more of them next week and take their chances. Owen Redmond, I presume, was injured, and Owen Redmond and
ribs.
Jack Kavanagh, the first away seen appearing out in the field yesterday, and Brendan Hayden asked one of them, I don't know which one it was, and he said something about ribs, all right, because I was looking to see, right, there's 2 of these in the program, so there's obviously 2 different lads coming in. But no, I was impressed with them, and like last year they played well enough against Rangers in the league part. I think they got someone sent off. It could have been Micheál Mullins, or was that the year before, but I think it was last year. This year, right, Rangers had a lad sent off in the, was it Richard Kelly before half time? It was 4 points in it. They were level with St Mullins. They didn't take their next 3 or 4 chances. Look, semi-final, them chances have to be taken, and they'll know that. Like, they just have to up the success rate with like the Hill Wides there in the first half of their day. Like, they were, if Ballinkillen had been more up to the speed of the game, it could have been a different outcome. But it'll be an interesting battle now next Sunday.
It will. And Joe, just before you jump in, I just want to refer back to that moment, right? So when you say Ross Smithers got a shoulder, Ross Smithers got buckled by Dion Wall, right? But within 10 seconds, Dion Wall got buckled, right? So he got the ball and drove forward. I can't remember who put him on his arse, but he got put back on his hole straight away. And like, in that simple facet of play, and like, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think last year, would that happen? Like, are these little small subtle differences we're seeing? Do you know, it's like, right, I like this putting his arse. Well, fuck it, I'm going to put him on his arse back. And that's what happened. And they stood their ground. And Ross was down for 2 or 3 minutes now. He didn't just jump straight back up. Like, he was holding his rib and he was in pain. And then he takes off up along the sideline, the terrace side, and puts the ball out, an incredible point, like. And nearly in that moment, you're saying to yourself, that's probably almost in one complete moment, a sign that Naomh are going to win. It really is just that type of thing, like. So that was a really standout for me. I love that kind of stuff on you. You can't beat a good, hard physical game, like. And in fairness, let's give Brian a bit of credit for that as well. Like, you know, he let the hits go in that, and we like to see it. But yeah, look, I'll tone it down a bit now, because that was literally a very, very enjoyable moment. I think it was a tone setter, it was a bone setter as well. But Joe, jump in here anyway and tell us how you saw it. And we're going to have to move on fairly swiftly now to the semi-finals, because we're heading towards half-time, lads.
Yeah, well, you pointed out a couple of things there. The man markers against us as well. They had their I suppose they had their homework done in terms of personnel, who was picking up who. Like, Ross played most of the game, well, a lot of the game, and more of the game at fullback than centre back.
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously had their battles picked up. And you mentioned Owen Hosey and Michael Kavanagh. So in the 2 corners, then the 2 very good man markers and ball players there. Like, so they had their homework done in terms of their matchups as well. And I think that's going to be key when we talk about the preview next week, in terms of who's picking up who in that Michael rearguard for, against Monastery Rangers, and what have to learn from the first game. And I think it was very, like you said, I think it set the tone. I thought their discipline was good as well yesterday. I mean, we got some frees. They weren't giving us complete, handy ones. Anytime we got in, we had to earn them, and they were very disciplined in their tackling, and their work rate back was very good. Like, there was a couple of times we got caught for over carrying and stuff because of the pressure as well, and that all set the tempo and the tone. But I think going forward, they'll take a lot of heart from that victory yesterday, and I think they've learned a lot in terms of their team as well, and certain lads and standing up, and big players. To all their big players, I think we might have mentioned that before, that sometimes they might have been reliant on 1 or 2 lads, and yesterday other lads other lads kind of chimed in with massive performances, and I think if they're going to be taking down Monastery Rangers next weekend, they're going to need the same again. You know what I mean? They're going to need more and more lads to step up and put in those performances.
Yeah, like Hosey caught a ball out of the sky as well, and that lifted the crowd and lifted Nave One.
Yeah.
You know, all them things really do matter. So I think, lads, before we actually go on to the previews and that, we're going to look at the junior and intermediate as well, and have a quick word on under 20 final. You know, I'm just going to put it out here. I won't get you to comment on it, but Bidenstown and Rangers in that 20s final last week was an incredible game of hurling by all accounts. I didn't get to it now, but they were cruising, Bidenstown were, and then Rangers came back, and there's only a couple of points in it at the end. So well done to both sets of players, and well done to every player that played in that championship, because as you've said, as both of you said, like, it's been a serious championship. The Shield final, I think, Stevie, is Wednesday, and you're taking on Carrowtown and that. So the very best luck to both teams. Look, as we said, yeah, we're going to go through junior, intermediate, and senior in terms of semi-finals. I don't know, there's some sort of a playoff with this junior. So I know for definite intermediate and senior semis are on, and we'll go through the dates and times and venues and the whole lot. But I think we'll just cap off the weekend gone with the player of the week and the team of the week before we go on to next weekend, not to be tipping back or whatever. So, we'll start off first we'll go player of the week first. So the nominees were Brian Tracy, Chris Nolan, Kevin McDonald, and Ross Smithers. Tight vote, actually. Brian Tracy edged it, and very worthy in my opinion as well.
Yeah.
3 monster frees, if not 4, and made a great save near the end. Puck outs are very good too. You know, he's polished. He's polished as a goalkeeper. Simple as that.
He's probably after having as good a championship as he's ever had so far in terms of his standards. You know, I know not time and not short puck out, no matter on the best of goalies will slip out here and there, but he's shot stopping, he's frees, you know, he's just been, I think he's had, you know, and he has high standards, in fairness to him, you know, he sets high standards, and he's had a good championship so far, so I think he fully deserves him there.
Yeah, he's holding it. So he's in the goal for the team of the week as well. Full back line is Michael Dial, Micheál Ryan, and Owen Hosey. So Michael Dial is one of the stickiest cornerbacks out there, and there'll be a little turn on this now in a second when we get to the full forward line. But Micheál Ryan is at full back. Was on Scott Tracy, a tricky customer, but did very, very well on him. Has been a great servant to Ballinkillen, obviously. He only played junior last year and up this year, and you know, he was an incredible minor as well in 2007, a county minor, like. And Morris Power would have spoke about with us, Joe, that when he was talking about leaders of the previous teams, he was over the past couple of years before our year. He mentioned Micheál, like, and I thought he was very good, very vocal yesterday too. Probably Ballinkillen's best player, I'd say. So Owen Hosey then completes the full back line. As you said, very good catch out of the sky and just solid all through. Ross Smithers, wing back, as we said, I think he did play most of the game in full. He started out in the wing and marked Sean Murphy regardless of where he went. Sean might got 2 points, Ross got one of his own. Alfie's a centre back, held the centre well, come out with a merciful amount of ball, as he always does. Just so consistent. Gary Lawler's at left half back. Curbed Danny Dial very well. That's more of an indictment on Danny Dial in terms of his influence this year and how good he has been. But Gary was very good on him yesterday, it has to be said. So he's in there at wing back. Kevin McDonald and Denny Joe Regan in the middle. So Kevin McDonald and Joe, you kind of said it yesterday, and you're spot on with it. He's so good every week, but he's so good by doing the simple things, and they're so simple and they work every time. It almost kind of goes invisible, if that makes sense. Like, do we kind of talk about it enough? Like, it's very rare he makes a mistake. Like, so you know, again yesterday knocked over a couple of points. I'll soldier on and we'll talk about it a little bit later. Anyway, when we go into the semi-final previews, there's something that will be mentioned. So versatile. Anyway, that's another thing we mentioned. Anywhere from number 1 to 15, Kevin Mack has played and could play. Denny Joe is his partner there in the middle. A point from play. Denny was away for a few years, but back obviously over the last couple and in around the middle third. Would have been known as maybe a wing forward, corner forward growing up, but plenty of legs out around the middle. Very busy. Half forward line, Connor Foley with 3 points is at 10. James Smithers is at centre forward with that direct hard running, as we referred to already. Eddie Byrne at wing forward, 3 points from play. Moved around the forwards a good bit, it has to be said. Full forward line, John Nolan, 1-3, I think he finished with, maybe 1-2 of that from play. Chris Nolan with 8 points, 4 of those from play. And then Jake Doyle is at corner forward. So, like, a chap, you know, had to go start the game yesterday. Hasn't been starting all year. He's so young. He'll be first name on the team sheet, I'd say, in a few years' time. 4 points, at least 2, if not 3, from play, and one of those was an outrageous score underneath the terrace, and was on Michael Dial. And we do have this argument quite regularly, lads. Can you put 2 lads on that mark each other? And if there's an exceptional tussle, we will make an exception. But I think, given the fact that Michael is so solid, as we said, probably the stickiest back in the county and definitely within the province as well, one of those. And Jake gets a couple of points as a chap. So I mean, that's I think that's fairly worthy of inclusion as well. So what are you happy enough with the team? This was a little bit more difficult than other weeks. It was definitely more difficult than last week, anyway, because I saw nothing and let Joe pick it. But it was like, in fairness, we had a few little things we had to decide, like.
Yeah, well, the game has gone. The game has gone like that. Like Alfie probably, Eddie Byrne probably got 3 points off Alfie. If you're looking at it that way, but like the game is not. No, it's not like it was years ago, where you're looking at the paper and just your man got 3 points or 4 points, or just how aren't you taking off? It has evolved a fair bit at this stage. But I checked that the point, he got a great point in front of us there. Was it just before half time or the water break? One of them anyway. He had lost possession and got back and it curled in lovely. But
yeah, he's definitely taken the senior like a duck to water. Like the game I saw him against Ballinkillen as well. He got 3 points, I think, when he came on, and he's going to be a real leader for Bidenstown Gales in years to come. It has to be said. So look, that's the story with the team of the week. Any last thoughts on it, Joe? We need to move on. Sorry.
Any last thoughts? Move on. No, a few squabbles, but I think we've 15 good hurlers there anyway. Yeah.
Right. Okay. With a few comments coming in as well. Joe Nolan, and he's still hurling. Yeah, you played at the weekend. We counted this pass. You scored 2 points from play for the intermediates, did you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well done on that. There is a broader issue which we probably could go into, and if we have more time, we would go into. But like, just in terms of fair play for doing it, it's disappointing. But as you said last week, it's one of those years.
One of those years.
Yeah. What's this now? Yeah. John Nolan, he's still hurling, is one of the comments. Well done, Mark. That's in relation to Mark Brennan from Tommy Wogan. Joe for player of the week, that's from the Boda Hickey. Podge Ryan says, is Stevie getting any younger? Or is Stevie getting younger?
That's
a Snapchat filter he's on.
Podge is that relays back to 1988.
Oh, here we go. Jeez, you never let it lie, lad.
Podge's uncle was full forward under 21 team, and he was married to my cousin. But Mihal was closer to the 31 than the 21.
Yeah, lad, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Next thing you'll have the other lad there beside you talking about you know what.
Yeah. So one more comment, BJ's lads, if you're going to go through the football championships with the same in-depth previews and analysis as the hurling, you may go 3 nights a week when it starts. Powerful stuff. I'd love to go 3 nights a week if we could, but time is of the essence. Right, lads, games the weekend. We'll start with the intermediate championship. So it's a double header in Netwatch Cullen Park on Saturday. 1 o'clock sees Navan up against Carrowtown, and then 2:45 it is Neighbourhood versus Monastery Rangers. Stevie, I'm going to bring you in to be the correspondent on this, right? And we'll have to keep it snappy. But Navan and Carrowtown, you're probably fancying Navan here.
I should have to, like Carrowtown a couple of weeks ago, we won well. We got a couple of softish goals, like probably planted a bigger scoreline than it really was. But we played Moisture the weekend, Navan, and like I suppose the goals again were the difference. We in goals that there's no good time to lay in the goal, but we let him in at 3 bad times. So look, you'd have to go for Michael. Our own game then. Look, we're going to be hoping we'll be able to produce a performance on the day. That's not going to be too easy. Dara Tola's gone off the team there. They'll still have 15 going out. It's not the 4 gone from the day. We played them below Monastery Rangers, but that don't matter a damn in my eyes. They're still going out with 15 and they'll have Luke Roach back. I'd say he wasn't playing the last day against Michael. So look,
Luke hurled against us there, and Eddie Cody came on. So there's a few not too bad lads to bring in either. I suppose they're going to always be strong, aren't they?
Yeah, in the semi-final, Lucas Dogger produced that license.
I like the way you use the PG terminology. That we've heard it said other ways from you before. Right. So yeah, the senior games then. Just a quick one on the junior. So there's a playoff involved there. So we are supposed to have a game of is it Rangers versus Pal / St Mullins for Sunday? But I don't know. Is the the Pal / St Mullins game going to be played before that? So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was due to there might have been a walkover in that group, and I think then scores when it was a 3-way playoff. Then I think that had to be decided that way rather than scoring difference. So, yeah, I think it's the draw. The pull. I'd say who was pulled out of hat was Bidenstown Gales top the group. Isn't that right, Stevie? Then as a result, and then
yeah, I only seen what that Carol J up last night. So
even though Pal beat them in the last game, to put themselves in the hunt. And thought they were out actually as of Friday night themselves, but then when they looked at it, then they were back in. So that'll be an interesting one. St Mullins and themselves only 3 points in, I think, a couple of weeks ago, or 3 or 4 points the first game of that championship, and probably maybe St Mullins might have gained a few. But I'd say Pal with the extra few weeks of hurling won't be too bad either. That'll be tight.
Well, to tell you, all right.
We always say juniors unpredictable. We don't even know if the matches are whatever. But anyway, that's the way it is. Right. So those intermediate games we've gone through. Thanks for that, Stevie. So. Senior then, lads, on Sunday, 2:30 is St Mullins and Bidenstown Gales, and then 4:15 it is Naomh Eoin and Monastery Rangers. So yeah, we'll start in the order of when they're taking place. Bidenstown Gales, St Mullins. Right, I'm going to put my neck on the chopping block here first anyway. So the first thing you have to say to yourself is how fit are the Bidenstown lads going to be? You know, they didn't play the weekend. Are they going to be fully right? Craig looked like he did a bad enough ankle injury in that game against Ballinkillen. But you'd be talking probably 3 weeks at that point. Is it enough? I don't know the extent of the damage. Jamie Clark, I don't know how bad his injury is, right? So those are big, big variables. If Bidenstown are going to win that game, all those lads you mentioned have to be fully right, in my opinion. Simple as that. Equally, there's a question mark over how fit is Mouse like. The last day answered it fairly emphatically, in my opinion. So if he's 75% or 80%, Bidenstown have a little bit of thinking to do. All things considered, like obviously there's big improvements at Bidenstown, and St Mullins, I feel, have improved massively due to the reset of the balance of their team. There's not going to be much in it. I'm just going to side with St Mullins though. Stevie?
I'd say I couldn't say a whole lot more different than with the injuries. Like I presume like the boys were rested yesterday, they didn't have to win the game, so there's no use risking ankles or you can do one getting out of the freaking car, and like Styler got injured that day, Milky as well. I think he had 20 stitches in his ear. So
you could walk into a pier very handy out in the yard as well when you're sweeping it.
I can walk into a pier very handy in the yard. You can't see the top of my head here now, but anyway.
Hey, the top of your head is blended into that lovely paint, whatever colour paint they have in the ceiling. It's all the one colour.
For the viewers / listeners, I think Stevie had a bit of a run-in with the pier. Thankfully the pier is okay, and Stevie's not doing too bad either. But yeah, look, sorry, continue. I couldn't let it pass when you mentioned.
I know, thanks. Look, what said about Mouse as well. Like, look, you're presuming he's have to get another week and a half under his belt as well. He's going to be coming back that bit sharper as well. Depends what the result yesterday. In fairness to Bidenstown, they didn't. They made changes there yesterday. Brian O'Shea didn't have to join their team. Like, you know, they were making changes as if that game yesterday was just a game, and they dealt with it as a game. So, look what the result meant in the wind-up, we don't know. They were short to the semi-final. They're back down to square one. Now we're starting, whether you're first, second, third or fourth, it means nothing next Sunday until the ball is thrown in. You're back starting from level playing field. I slightly still say Mullins possibly James Style back in the forwards, and you know, but then back to the question you said about the two boys, it's Craig Doyle and Jamie Clark. They have to be on the field first anyway for Bidenstown to have a good chance of winning that game. And if they are and they're able to get a performance out of them, the could sneak it, but you're just too much imponderables. I give St Mullins a slight verdict again, but I'm after going against Bidenstown 3 times already, and the last 2 times I went against them, the one, so they can thank me Sunday at 4:00.
Right, Joe, step up.
Yep, I'm going to go straight out with St Mullins. I think they're battle hardened. when it comes down to real championship hurling, I think they've proven their mettle probably, so many times, and I think it'll be a big ask for Bidenstown to raise their game, maybe after, maybe the slight doubts that maybe last Sunday put in them. I think probably having Mouse back is a massive lift to St Mullins, even assuredness on freeze, even though Conor Keogh was doing okay and all, but just to have him back for the likes of that, and even that moment, the one moment of magic that can be the difference in a game, like like the catch and the hand pass that he laid off for the goal for John Dial against Michael to kind of more or less win the game. I think bringing that sort of sparkle or that factor to it just adds so much to them, and I think they've kind of tinkered around with their team a little bit as well. I think Bidenstown, while even if the lads are back, you'd wonder is there a lift in them, and you'd wonder kind of like you said there, the mileage in the legs on some of the players, said like Dara and Niall Bulger and these lads, they have a lot of games in their legs as well, and you'd imagine St Mullins will be a tiny little bit fresher that way. But I think Bidenstown will, they'll give them lots of them, but I think maybe just that little bit of experience and maybe superior firepower will probably get St Mullins over the line in that one.
All right, so it's all three in favour of St Mullins, Monastery Rangers and Naomh Eoin. So yeah, look, we've kind of touched on it briefly. I've kind of said that I don't think there's going to be a massive amount in it actually. Anywhere near the margin. I think last year was a very comfortable win for Rangers, wasn't it? To the best of my memory.
Yeah.
I think there's massive improvements made. We've mentioned that a few times at this point. Do I think Naomh Eoin can beat Monastery Rangers? Yeah, every team always has a fucking chance. Let's be honest about it. But in terms of what needs to happen, and we kind of mentioned it a good bit, and it's not even a disrespectful thing, but it really, I think, depends on what Rangers come to the table, and if they can put in a quarter, like they've done a few times at different stages during the year, that one quarter, while being mainly average in the rest of them, is after proven to be enough to get them over the line in games. So what has to happen here is probably a little bit unlikely in that, Naomh Eoin have to be on for the whole game, and no team are able to do that, right? They have to be on it for the whole game, and Rangers have to be a level off for the whole game, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to happen. So on that basis, I think I go with Monastery Rangers, but I don't think there's a massive margin in it, lads. So, Stevie.
Yeah, one thing I noticed yesterday with the Monastery Rangers in the second half, when they were in front of us, they're half forward and pulled out in the midfield, and kind of left three inside on three, big gap. Gary Lawler could get the ball and bring back, pile drive it out to the corner. Michael pulled back Micheál Mullins a couple of times there. Some Chucho was in full forward, and the Brown called Conor Tracy, is it? No, the ball never got in directly to him, but Michael had that wax, we'll call it. But then the tendency then, if Rangers are getting caught, they're not getting the gap inside, they'll shoot from long distance. Probably what you said as well, they'd have to have a little bit of an off day. But Michael are coming bit by bit now. We're winning one game last year, winning, what have they won this year, one or two? One game, was it?
One.
Yeah.
So that doesn't tell you they're coming 100 miles an hour, but they're Conor Foley, John Michael Nolan, you said it earlier, they have to be winning puck out, so the puck outs will be landing down, their hand has to be on him. James Smithers, will he be able to get as much joy off of Diarmuid Byrne as he got yesterday? He'll have a tough day at office if he's going to. But they need to get a couple of goals, I think. And Rangers have conceded a couple of goals against Ballinkillen, clean sheets to other games, I think. If Michael can get 2 goals, they're going to have a chance of pulling off a shock. But other than that, I'd say it'll be tight. There won't be much in it. I couldn't say more than 3 or 4 points, but they'll have to get 2 goals to win it. Go with Monastery Rangers. Michael get 2 goals. You never know. But if you get 2 goals, they'll have to stop Monastery Rangers getting 2 goals at the other end. So
Joe.
There's a lot of ifs and ands.
Yep. Right. Well, I again, I think if I'm Michael, I make a battle of it, but I obviously don't. You have to control that aggression too, in terms of not giving away frees and so on. You have to temper that. and I think they will. I think they were very good at that yesterday as well. I think a big key for them is going to be stopping Monastery Rangers going short with their puckouts. I mean, what they want really is Monastery Rangers, and the Monastery Rangers have been doing more of it this year maybe than last year. It's pucking long, but I think definitely Michael won't have any fear of even though, like, you know, Eddie Byrne, there's a big man in the half forward line for and Tony Lawler's up there as well now from yesterday, but you wouldn't know what configuration they'll end up with on Sunday. But I think Monastery Rangers, Michael won't fear Monastery Rangers going long. And I think they'll want that. They'll want to make that middle a massive battleground. Because I think they know that, you know, in the game so far, that when that has happened, they put them in with a real shout. I think getting their matchups, and I mentioned it there before, I think will be key in that forward line. Will Ross Smithers pick up Chris Nolan? I think he picked him up in the group game. You have Owen Hosey, and you have Michael Kavanagh going well. You know, you might have Owen Redmond back in. You don't know in terms of injury, but even those two lads there, in terms of man markers, maybe for John Nolan, maybe might be on. You know, might be one, maybe Ted Jice the other. So it's about winning those individual battles there. Micheál Mullins might pick up Eddie Byrne again. You know, he marked him in on the edge of the square the last day, and I know I said it then that I think if Eddie is out at centre forward and Micheál is on him as a centre back, I think Micheál will actually prefer nearly out around there. So I think getting those matchups will be key. Making Mount Leinster Rangers go long, pressurising that middle third. Their forward line, they're sharp enough. Their work rate was very good. Conor Foley the last day was like a new player. You know, got 3 points in play. His work rate, his discipline, everything was smashing. And I think they need another big performance from him. John Michael as well in the other wing. Again, look, like I said before, he's just one of these lads that we expect big games from constantly, you know, because he's done it so often. And I think they'll need that as well. Their inside line, well, they got a couple of maybe, you know, points in play off us. You know, I don't think they were the influence that they were against maybe, you know, in other games. And I think, you know, they'll be looking to up their game there. You know, if it's Adam Kenny, if it's Dean Sly, if it's Scott Tracy or Carl Tracy, whoever is in there, I think they'll need to bring a little bit more threat in there to really, you know, to raise to get the goals, to get the scores, to win the game. Excuse me. I wouldn't be surprised if there's only a few points in this game. I wouldn't be really surprised. I agree that Navan have been thereabouts all year. I think I said it before. I think there's a big performance in them this year. That yesterday was a performance. They did enough to win. If they can raise it another level, and they're going into this kind of wrote off, and everyone is saying Mount Leinster Rangers are it's a formality or whatever else. Excuse me. I think that'll suit Navan. Can they hold Chris Nolan? Can they hold John Nolan? You know, is Eddie Byrne going to clip over another 3 or 4 points like he's done before? These lads, that's the $6 million question. But going on current form, they're definitely closer in this year's semi-final than they were last year. If I'm going to call it, I know I'm going to call it. If I'm going to call it, I'm probably just going to go for a narrow Mount Leinster Rangers victory. But again, like the rest of us here, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a different result or we see a draw or something like that. But it will be very tight, I think.
Absolutely. So, lads, we're at the AOB part again. Any last thing to add before we wrap it up here? Nope.
All good.
Okay.
All good, lads.
There we go. So we just want to give, obviously, a shout out to our sponsors, Corker and Precast. Thanks. And obviously very grateful for that. Thanks to all and the lads. And just to mention as well, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Left Wing Back. You can email us with any of your thoughts at leftwingbackpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications wherever you watch or listen for the new shows when they're being released. If you turn on the notifications, you'll see it straight away, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. When the episode drops, you'll have it there straight away. So that's where we leave it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Another marathon that has to be said. 1 hour and 50 minutes up on the clock. I'm going to get killed when I come off this job. But anyway, that's the way it is, lads. We'll finish her up. We look forward to some great games at the weekend. Thanks to all our guests. Obviously, we had Mark Brennan on for about 60 seconds. Of course, the ban of the goal. We had Clíodhna Ní Shé. Fabulous conversation with Clíodhna Ní Shé.
You must have been standing outside Stevie's on Stevie's internet.
We're all working out the one system up here.
Yeah,
the one wire.
The wrong system.
The one wire.
Yeah, Jenny Mac. It must be.
There's a lot of us up here wired wrong.
You said it, Steve. You know us. You said it. But thanks to Mark, thanks to Clíodhna Ní Shé, and obviously to Peter Fortune as well. We covered a lot of ground tonight. And Stevie and Joe, thanks to you as well. I appreciate it. Every Monday or Tuesday, the two lads are on here, and there's no problem, even when there is obstacles in the way, dramatically on the podcast. And a lot of work goes in to this behind the scenes, folks. We don't just rock up and do a show.
And look as good as this.
And look as good as this, yeah. There's a WhatsApp group there, and that joke is hopping day and night. So there's a good bit goes into it. So,
but Kevin, doesn't it just show what's going on in GA in our county, that we've so much to talk about and so much more we could chat about? Like, you know, Jesus, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves in the county here. Everything is negative this and negative that, and you know, we're only looking at the small picture. Sometimes, you know, we're looking at the county teams and we're this is going wrong and that's going wrong and the other is going wrong or whatever. Look at the unbelievable, you know, what the GA is all about. I keep saying it. What, you know, sometimes we miss it. You know, it's just brilliant what's going on in the county, and fair play to everyone. It's brilliant. You know, it gives, especially in the COVID times, lad. You know yourself the crack we had even on the terrace the other day. In you're chatting and you're talking to people and meeting people, and it's just great to be back at it. And you know, it's brilliant. It's great buzz, isn't it? Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. You just can't beat it, and it is something that you would 110% miss, and you'd hope that it'd never be taken away from you again, you know.
Yep.
But the gratitude you'd have and the appreciation, definitely, I agree with you 100%. Lads, thanks a million. I thought there's no WhatsApp group in 5 minutes probably, but anyway, thanks again, and we'll chat to you all soon, folks.